Hey y'all, and welcome back to UpliftFit Nutrition Radio. I'm your host, Lacey Dunn, future registered dietitian, here to spread the scientific knowledge in the worlds of fitness and nutrition. I want to thank you so much for joining in with me today. Get ready to learn, get excited, and let's get moving. Hey guys, today I have an amazing friend. Her name is Kristy Lynn. She is an NPC bikini competitor, a NASM certified personal trainer, and a great friend of mine. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell my listeners a little bit about who you are and your background, and then we can go into today's topics.
Okay, great. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you so much, Lacey. This was a long time coming, being on the show, but I'm so happy to be here. So a little bit about myself. My name is actually Kristina Lynn. I grew up playing sports, so that's where my competitive background came from. And after graduating college, I graduated with a BS in psychology. I went on to get my master's in school counseling. And I really wanted something to compete in after playing softball for so long. And I got into bodybuilding, and I find it just so funny that I got on Instagram and I was following Oxygen magazine and started following some of the cover models and started seeing more and more of bikini competitions, and it always sparked my interest, and I finally decided in 2015 that I was going to compete. I had really been interested in it for a couple of years prior, but I finally was like, you know what, I just can't be, when I'm 70 years old, look back and be like, hey, I wish I had done a competition. So I decided to just go for it, and I've been competing ever since.
Oh, that's just so awesome. And oh my gosh, with your name and everything, I always write your name as Kristy Lynn instead of Kristina because of your Instagram.
I know.
It is such a struggle.
So it's funny, even some of my close friends still call me Kristy, but when I created the Instagram handle Kristy Lynn, it was because of being a school counselor. I just didn't want my kids to find me on Instagram. So it's actually Kristina. I mean, I wasn't like super covert or anything like that, but
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about your competing journey and your thoughts on the best way to diet in regards to competition prep.
Okay, so I think that I really lucked out with my competition, I guess, starting my competitions, because I had a really great coach. I did a lot of research prior to starting on. I think I interviewed about 10 different coaches. I did a lot of research through just online and watching YouTube videos. And so I knew that in order to have a successful prep, I needed to find a coach that I really worked well with. And we had a lot of the same philosophies. So that's why I did so many interviews, and I finally found a coach who's under Cliff and Katie Wilson. So he was very much into the idea of flexible dieting and if it's your macros. So I had already been tracking my macros for maybe over a year, but I was still kind of going through that learning phase and trying to, just even like the minuscule details of like weighing chicken, like cooked versus raw and and things like that. But I guess the other thing that I thought of is when I was following people's journeys and their prep, it seemed to be like 12 weeks was like the magical number. Like when you want to prep, you just need 12 weeks. So I think I had just a very skewed idea of what my first prep was going to be like. And so we took a much longer approach because I had a little bit more weight to lose. And, I just had a very good prepping experience. I had a very good coach who I think we worked well together. And my first show was a NGA show. It was a natural show. And then I believe it was 4 weeks later, I did an NPC show, and from the moment I did the NPC show, I was hooked and will never go back. I'm like team NPC.
Oh, yeah, I love NPC. I actually really want to try natural because I've heard great things about them as well. But there is something about NPC, how they do make their competitors feel special.
Yeah.
And the glitz of the glam of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, I think it was just a very, very smooth run show. I had a lot of fun with the competitors backstage. But one of the things I have heard more about people who have competed in the natural shows much longer said that they really build a very tight-knit community and a tight bond with the other competitors as well as the judges. So I just haven't done it for long enough. And I think part of the reason is because I wasn't very fond of the T-walk. So I just didn't want to be on stage for 60 seconds. And the girl actually who won the show, she used a prop during her individual routine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it just seemed a little bit more theatrical than the NPC, where it's just very black and white, you know, get on stage, you got 10 seconds, and then you're off.
Yeah. Now let's go into your prep. You talked about doing prep with Andrew, and I've had Andrew on my podcast twice now. He is a fantastic coach, super knowledgeable. So we have talked with him in regards to diet breaks and refeeds, and I'm guessing that is something that you implemented with your preps?
Yes. So I worked with Andrew this past season. It was our first prep together, and we had implemented a high carb day every 7th day. So I was able to utilize, I believe it was either every Saturday or every Sunday, depending on if I had an event or, you know, something. But typically it was every 7th day. And my carbs would be increased. And in the past, I've done refeeds where my fats and protein drop a little bit and then my carbs stay elevated to keep calories roughly the same. But with Andrew, everything remained the same, but carbs were higher. So we worked with that for a pretty long time. And I say we started prep in March, and then my season ended in November, but my calories were so high, I don't really feel like I ever started to really diet or prep until like April or May, if that makes any sense.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. So even though we started prep, it didn't really seem like it was really official until a couple months later. But once we started to have to really, really dig, we actually started to implement 2 higher carb days on my leg days. So instead of having every 7th day, it was more likely every 4th day. So twice a week, it'd be on like a Monday, and then maybe a Friday, it'd have a high carb day on my leg day. And that helped in regards to keeping my energy higher during my workouts, but also just that mental component of prep. Mm-hmm. Knowing that, okay, I just need to stay on my diet for 3 more days and then I get a high carb day. And then it was like, oh, well, it's just another 3 more days and then I get a high carb day.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of competitors, even coaches, can, they can kind of forget, because in regards to refeeds, the science isn't there for a 1-day refeed. So there's not really physiological effects with 1-day refeeds. But with high carb days and 1-day refeeds, there's a huge psychological component there. I know from some of my clients, if I give them 2 days higher days, just like you were given, they will be so much better in regards to adherence, and they will give their all. I think there's also an aspect of recovery in regards to having those high carb days on those leg days. That can be like, leg days are hard. They take a lot out of you.
Yes, they do. And especially when you get really further into prep and your calories are so low, your body is sore and it takes even longer to recover. Mm-hmm. When you're that low cal, like it's so helpful to have just not that mental aspect of it, but like you said, the recovery aspect.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another key thing in regards to recovery is just keeping your calories as high as you possibly can. Now, exactly. You said that you didn't feel like you were dieting for a few months. So did you have a reverse diet prior, or were you just lucky to have an awesome metabolism?
So actually, I did not work with a coach for my off season following my shows in 2016. I reversed on my own and got to a point where I just I got a little burnt out and I just stopped tracking for a little bit. Reason is I wasn't in I had moved in with at the time my boyfriend's parents and then fiance. And so I just wasn't in my natural habitat and my natural routine. And so it just kind of got to a point where it was like inconvenient to track. And I think I just made some excuses and just kind of ate. And I mean, I don't even I guess it was kind of intuitive eating, but not responsible intuitive eating.
At least you admit it.
Yeah. And so I moved out here to Texas, and we were we didn't really have pots and pans, and so we were we were trying to make healthy decisions. But I think once I started working with Andrew in, I think it was February or March, I just started tracking. And it was really hard to mentally get back into tracking your food after months off. But what I found to be really helpful was sticking to just very simple meals. So just, and then having those meals be consistent every day. So it's like, well, for breakfast or my pre-workout, I'm going to have oats, peanut butter, and blueberries. And just that way I didn't have to think about it. It was just very, very simple. And I eased my way back into tracking. And so I gave Andrew my estimated macros, and then that's when he started off my prep. And so my calories and my macros were pretty high. So every time he made an adjustment, it still just didn't really feel like I was ever dieting, but I was being 100% adherent and on point. And, like you can't be within, 10 grams, 20 grams. I was within, 1 to 3 grams during prep. So even though we were in prep, it just didn't ever feel like I was dieting until about 2 months in.
That's so awesome, because it is never fun to feel the struggle of dieting. That's for sure.
Yes.
But I'm really glad that at the same time that you took that intuitive approach, because that really allows you to be in tune with your hunger and be able to enjoy life and not be so rigid on macros, because that is something that also can occur with dieting and with competing.
Right. And I think almost that kind of set me up for this off season, where I have been probably the most consistent I ever have been post show. I've had my fair share of going out to eat and social events and things like that, but tracking just doesn't feel like a burden to me right now. So it's even though I wasn't tracking last off season, I feel like I'm in a really good spot right now.
Yeah. Now let's talk about your key components of a good contest prep. What do you think are the essentials to getting through a contest prep for you? In regards to both mindset, physical, and in regards to your metabolism.
Right. So I like how you talk about both physical and mental, because I feel like if you're not mentally ready to start a prep, then it doesn't matter where you are physically.
Exactly.
So being mentally ready to start a prep, I feel like one of the key things to focus on is how you feel about yourself. Because losing a bunch of weight and getting stage lean won't make you like yourself anymore if you already have a complicated relationship with who you are. So I think that you have to be very confident in yourself and your abilities, and be okay with who you are as a person before you even start. So I don't like people who compete out of, I don't want to say self-hatred, but thinking that it'll change how they feel about themselves, because that's just not the case.
Amen.
Yeah. But in regards to that, I think a thing that some people need to think about is, Actually, kind of, if you have not been weightlifting for a couple years, I think that's one of the things that you should do prior to starting to think about a contest prep, because I think that you need to have a pretty solid foundation, especially now the way that NPC bikini has shifted. I think that the physiques are a lot harder and more muscular than they have been even a couple years ago. So having a really good foundation in the gym, being comfortable in the gym and with your training, I think is going to set you up for a very good prep.
Yeah, I agree. I think a mistake that a lot of people make in regards to jumping in a show is not having a solid base and understanding of both working out and their own diet and how their body reacts. I truly believe if you're going to do a contest prep, if you're going to do a show, you need to have done a good building and cutting phase prior to doing that. That way you know how your body reacts and what you need and how deep you have to get in order to get lean.
Right, exactly. And especially if you want to go into a show being competitive.
Exactly. Now let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing in regards to the look, with my fingers being quoted, the look for bikini these days. So it's definitely trending towards the more muscular route in certain shows. And then we have other shows where it's like they want that tiny and that lean, balanced look. So what have you seen in regards to what you saw at Miami?
So in Miami, I would say that they definitely went for a pretty dry and hard look. I don't think that they had too many girls up there who I would consider more soft or on the more lean side. I think that they did a great job picking the at least the top 5 for all of the categories in bikini, or I guess height classes. But it can be difficult going from show to show, and especially if you do a show on maybe the East Coast and then go to the West Coast and compete, because you're looking at a different set of judges who have a different idea of what bikini looks like. But I really prefer the more muscular and athletic look that girls bring to stage.
Oh, I so agree. And I had Lauren Dana Miller, who was the NPC National Miami champion, just on my podcast. Her look was fantastic. Like, perfectly balanced, not too muscular, not too lean. Like, I love seeing no graininess and not seeing those, like, intense dry lines, because striations are not what bikini should be. It should be a balanced, healthy look.
Right. And I think that that's kind of the issue that we're kind of going into right now, is where is that division between figure and bikini? Mm-hmm. And even though obviously the posing is very, very different, but you still have people that can cross over into both categories and do well in both categories. And of course it has to do with how hard you pose. But still, it's when you say that bikini should have no striations, to me, that's where we're drawing the line between bikini and figure.
Oh, yeah. And figure, like, you should not have a deep quad sweep with a striated quad or striated hamstrings if you're bikini. Right. You should have definition, but you shouldn't have striations. Right.
And
another thing I think a lot of bikini girls forget is, yes, they want cap delts, but they don't want overly capped delts. And I know that's like a fine line. It's kind of like so capped, but not too capped. But there's a difference, and you can definitely tell in regards to on stage.
Right. And I like the thing that Sammy Williamson, she pointed out, is that a lot of, I guess I wouldn't necessarily call it a myth, but that bikini is one from the back. And so a lot of girls put a ton of emphasis on their glutes, and they almost neglect other parts of their body and forget that it's not who has the biggest glutes on stage or the tightest glutes on stage. It's about the symmetry and the balance and your overall look. So I like that she mentions that.
Oh, yeah, me too. Because you cannot go on stage without an upper body to match your lower body. And a lot of girls will have an overpowering lower body with their upper body not matching that.
Right.
And
then, I think
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, it reminds me of Janet Leug, and I would say maybe a year or two ago, she had her glutes were almost overpowering.
Oh, yeah.
And the look that she brought to the Arnold stage this year, she looked so much more balanced.
Oh,
and
I was blown away by her. Like, that's the best she's ever looked.
I think so, too. So I was really happy with her placing.
Yeah. I think her and then Ashley Kay are two examples of two competitors that had to build their upper body, and they came back better, and they got rewarded for that.
Exactly.
So that's something to keep in mind. In regards to, I think a lot of little mini school things that girls forget in regards to competing is suit selection, suit color, and tan and makeup. I see a lot of girls just not get suits that match, their skin tone or their hair. They just get a color that they think may work. It's not about what you think works. It's about what the judges are going to like. And a lot of people need to actually do that and realize that. And another mistake that competitors can make are changing up their suits every single show they go. Like, those judges, they're going to recognize your face and your suit if you come in the same every single time. Now, don't come in the same if they didn't like the suit color. But if they like the suit color, don't change the suit color.
Right. And I've listened to a lot of posing seminars, and I've gone to a lot of posing seminars. So I've heard Sandy and other IFBB judges speak on this, and they said, and they've said outright, they're like, if we like a suit and we like your look, don't change it. They're like, you don't need to change your suit every year, every show, every season. They're like, if you find something that works, stick to it. And I mean, that's for females, that's a great thing because suits can be very, very expensive.
Oh, goodness gracious, yes.
But I actually, my very first suit was red, and it happened to be at the show I was at, and of course stage lighting varies from stage to stage, but I got on and my feedback was that they would prefer a darker suit color on me because with my blonde hair, everything just kind of washed out under the lights, and so there wasn't a lot of contrast, and so that was part of my feedback, and I found a suit that I really, really like, and I think I'm going to stick with that color.
I really like the dark on you. I am in love with the green on you. I'm in love with green on blondes in general. Green or I really like seeing like a deep purple on blondes as well. I don't know why. It just really catches my eye. And then a deep blue can be very, very pretty. So love those colors on you. I say for brunettes, I love seeing red, a deep maroon, a green, a purple, a blue, really anything for anybody deep royal colors.
Yes.
And not anything bright. I hate seeing a bright blue suit, a yellow suit, a white suit, a pink suit. Now, some people can pull that off, but for the most part...
I was going to say some competitors can, and Corey... I mean, your girl Corey, she can pull off pink.
Oh, yeah, she can pull off pink. And so did Ramina. I don't know what her last name is, but I think she got like third at the Arnold, and she was wearing pink. I was like, what?
Yeah. And I think one of the thoughts that go into it is you think that the bright, kind of almost pastel colors will look good with your tan. Which is true. It's very contrasting, but it's a whole different ball game underneath the stage lights.
You really have to find the certain color that's gonna pop, but not like wash out on stage.
Right. Exactly. And I'm sponsored by Angel Competition Bikinis, and what's really cool and one of the services that they do is they'll send you free fabric swatches. So you can go onto their website and look at different things, and they send them to you in the mail, and you can put them up against your skin and find a color that really complements your skin tones.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I know Ravish does it as well, and they will send little swatches with the crystal colors. And that's another thing, ladies, if you're competing, make sure you and this is coming from my own personal opinion, go the AB route. Don't go the normal stone route with no sparkle, because it will not sparkle and catch the attention on stage.
Yes, AB is the way to go.
Yes, for sure. And in regards to makeup, I know that one of the judges that I follow on Instagram, she actually just made a post about this. Always make sure your makeup is not too light on stage. You will wash out. You will look awkward like a doll. You really want to make sure that you find a good makeup artist that's going to take care of you, that's going to give you a good smoky eye, not anything crazy in regards to colors on your eyes, but just a natural makeup look with a spark that is not going to be super pale compared to your body.
Yes. And one of the things that you talked about earlier was, so some of the things that I've noticed is some girls will go very, very, very matchy with their suit color. So their nails will be the same color as their suit. Their makeup will be the same color as their suit, like their eyeshadow, and it just gets to be a little bit too much. And the judges actually, they pick up on that and they see that. So to have a stage look on stage that's very bold, but at the same time isn't, I don't know the right word, is not, but it's still natural. So I actually, I do my own stage makeup. My first season I competed, I had others help me. But part of the reason I do it is just to save some money. So I've had to kind of do my research on YouTube, but really having the contrasting aspects, so darkening the outer part of your face, and so it's a little more than just contouring, because it's very harsh. So if you were to see someone in person with it on, it looks like, wow, they have a lot of makeup on. But under the stage lights, it just doesn't look like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I even had a makeup artist make the mistake in Miami when I was in Miami, I think 2016. I had a pretty blue suit, loved it, and somebody I trusted for my makeup, and when she showed me my makeup, she gave me a bright blue eye, and I was like, no, you have to, and I felt so bad, like it looked so good, but I was like, you have to fix this. I can't go on stage with a bright blue eye. You can't do this to me.
I was there in Miami last year, right? With you after your show?
Oh, yeah, you were. Yeah, you saw the edited eye. You didn't see the bright blue eye.
I was going to say, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's because I made her change it. I felt so bad. It was like, okay, 30 minutes of work. Now you got to redo it.
Yeah, but I mean, you're also paying someone a lot of money for a service, so I can kind of see your point.
No, I felt like I paid an arm. Guys, competing is expensive.
Yes.
A lot of people do not realize that. I will,
yes,
and you know what's crazy is I will get emails from people saying, I have a low budget, but I want to compete. And I'm like, that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
Competing is so expensive. $1,000 at least to compete. Yes. That doesn't even cover a coaching fee.
No, and part of the things you can cut costs. There are some things that you can do, but then there are also the mandatory fees that there's no way that you can get around it. Mm-hmm. So just things to keep in mind. And actually, Andrew and I are coming out with a guide on how to go about and how you can kind of make the most of your money when it comes to show prep. So that's something that we have in the works right now.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I'm excited for that. I know he came out with the macros guide, so that was super exciting.
Yeah, he's got a lot of things that he's working on. I'm really proud of him.
Yeah, I know I want to do things like that, but I just don't have the time. I don't have time in life.
I feel you. Working full-time, and well, thankfully, I don't have to study anymore for my exam, but when I was working full-time and studying, I just didn't have time to do anything else.
Now, how did you balance prep and work? Was it all about like meal prepping and prioritizing?
Yes. So part of the things that's key when you're in contest prep is you have to be very structured and you have to be good at time management. So it was very tough at times because my days were a lot longer than I was used to. I have to be at work at 7:15, and on a good day, I could leave by 4:30. And sometimes, we'd have staff meetings. I have after school meetings. So there were some days where I was at work from basically 7:15 till 6:15 at night. So when it was the deeper parts of my prep where I was having to do more cardio and I was eating less, it got to be kind of difficult. But I would sometimes get up before work to do cardio. And one of the best decisions I made in 2016 for my preps was purchasing a spin bike for my house.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, so it was really good that I didn't have to spend extra time commuting to the gym, coming back from the gym. So I just have a little foldable spin bike. It was like $120. I think I bought it off of Amazon.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's got the adjustable knob so you can increase the intensity.
All right,
it's
guys,
perfect.
Any competitors, go get you a $125 spin bike.
Yeah, I can actually send you the link. It's very, very helpful.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I would hop on and sometimes, I'd either finish my cardio or I would split it in half. And I actually would go and on my lunch break to work out. So I would bring my gym bag. I'd have my breakfast would typically be my pre-workout meal. I'd have my pre-workout meal. And then about an hour later, I would go to the gym, get my workout in, come back and have lunch. So I had to be very efficient with my workouts, which I think is almost kind of a good thing because, as you know, sometimes, you have the tendency to delay workouts or to delay cardio. And, I hear a lot of people, they'll sit in their car or they'll sit in the sauna, just kind of waiting before. So I just didn't have that luxury. So I would just have to get in and get out and go back to work. Sometimes I'd have to come back and do my cardio at 8, 9 o'clock at night. But I mean, you just had to get it done.
Yeah. Well, props to you. And I know even trying to fit in weight training with a busy schedule is crazy. So I can't imagine adding in cardio, meal prep, and posing, because posing requires practice.
Yeah. It was a lot. And I mean, but one of the things is I think regardless if you're in your in or off season, I feel like your lifestyle should not change that much. So right now I'm not in prep, but I still prep all my meals. Mm-hmm. I still go to the gym on my lunch break. I still bring my gallon of water to work. So in that regards, not too much has changed. So I feel like, people will come up to me at work and they'll be like, "Oh, are you prepping for a show right now?" And it's like, nope, this is just my lifestyle. So I think that that's really big too, because I mean, I feel like you should enjoy your training in the gym, and it shouldn't be too drastic in and out of prep.
No, I so agree. And that's key, is making something a lifestyle, making your diet sustainable. I am definitely not a believer in doing restrictive diets and competing just to compete. I really believe that your diet should be something that you can follow through the rest of your life.
I 100% agree.
And I don't want to dive that into, specific diets and types and what to do and why, but I definitely believe that you've got to do what makes you happy and healthy and something that you can stick to for the long term.
Right. And I think what's really important there is what works for you, because what works for you may not work for me. But if I find something that I'm able to sustain for my entire life, then that's what works for me. And that's what I think too, when it comes to clients, when you're trying to figure out what they are going to be successful with, it's not, okay, well, client A does this and was successful, so that means that everyone else will do the same. So it's no. It's completely opposite. So I think that once you have a pretty good grasp on nutrition, you can play around with things like meal timing, meal portion sizes, and the frequency of your meals and things like that. But it's just playing around and, again, finding what works best for you and what you're comfortable with and what you're able to be flexible with for your lifetime.
Exactly. And in regards to competing and, trying to keep those high volume foods and spreading meals out based on, your own hunger and satiety, that's going to be different per person. And I think that's another thing that people forget is some people, they will do better if they have 6 meals because they just prefer to do it that way. And some people, because of that hunger, they need larger meals. So doing 3 larger meals with 1 or 2 snacks, or even doing just 4 larger meals may be better for them. It's truly about figuring out what's going to work for you. And maybe you need to do a high-fat breakfast because that is what is going to get you through your morning. Or maybe you need to do a high-carb breakfast because that's just, you need those carbs to get through your morning. It just truly has to be individualized. And that's something that people forget. You cannot just follow what somebody says. You have to do, you have to look at yourself and figure out what's going to work best for you.
Right. And I think that too, it's important to not be scared. If you're very, very set in your ways, so I do challenges with Marissa and Kristen, Marissa Roy Fitness and K-Fit. And one of the things that a client in particular, she wrote in our Facebook group that she was very scared to branch out because she had found a breakfast that worked for her. Kept her full. And, we were talking about different meal ideas and she was very scared to branch out and try new things. But once she did, it carried over into other aspects of her diet and she felt more comfortable trying new things or being more flexible. And I think that you just have to be flexible with your approach and try out different things. And maybe something didn't work and that's okay, but at least now. But you might try something and find, oh, wow, I actually feel more energized having a higher fat breakfast. Or so I think it's important to just try new things, especially because as new research comes out, you might find something that totally contradicts what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. And that's it. And that's the struggle with being, a health professional too, is there's always going to be new research and there's always going to be updates on what you think. So you really have to be open-minded always. There used to be information that, the ketogenic diet was not good for anybody other than epilepsy. And then now there's increasing evidence to where the keto diet has a bunch of benefits in regards to metabolic efficiency. It can be good for some type 2 diabetics, PCOS, all this stuff. So we get more information and we have to be open-minded, but we also have to realize, that could, all those long-term changes based on those short-term studies may also change in the future as well. So there's never one answer. You have to be open.
I feel like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was very much kind of bro science and everyone, you had to eat clean. And so the idea of flexible dieting and if it fits your macros was just so absurd. And then people started to see, oh, they're not getting fat or, they can eat. I know the big thing is Pop-Tarts. They can have a Pop-Tart and they still look really good. And so I feel like the mindset kind of shifted. And of course, there are people who are still very, very bro diet and very clean. But it's just, I'm sure that something else will come out here within the next year or so, and we might have a hard time adjusting. But it's like you said, it's just keeping an open mind. And I think that that's so important in regards to both training and nutrition.
I agree. Definitely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to cut you off only because I have to go get this TB skin test read. I'm so excited. I'm doing clinical trial research help at MD Anderson Cancer Center in May, but they're making me redo my TB skin test. And I'm like, I just did that in September. But anyways, I got to go get that read. So thank you so much for joining with me today, for talking with me about competing, a little bit about your lifestyle, and hopefully we can talk soon and, catch up.
Yeah, I would love that. And thank you so much for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
You're so welcome. If you can tell my listeners where they can reach you for coaching or your Instagram handles, your Twitter handles, your YouTube, that would be fantastic.
Sure. My name is Christina Lynn, but you can find me on Instagram as Kristy Lynn. That's CHRISTI. Lynn. I'm on Twitter. It's Kristy Lynn _. YouTube is Kristy Lynn Fitness, or Kristy Lynn Fit. And I am accepting clients now as I'm NASM certified. So you can email me at I'm so excited. KristyLynnFit@gmail.com. And then we're also doing challenges. So you can follow either myself and Kristen and Marissa. So
this is literally why I called you Kristy Lynn.
I know. Everyone does.
The struggle is real. So, Christina, I will talk to you later.
All right. Thanks so much, Lacey.
You're welcome. Bye, girl.
Bye.